Remember these words. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Hey everyone, this is Leon from Prologue Projects. There's no new episode of 5-4 today, but I am invading the feed to share with you an episode of another Prologue show, Celebrity Book Club with Stephen and Lily. I freaking love this podcast. I walk around my neighborhood with my dog, drinking my liquid IV, and I just laugh out loud like an idiot the whole time. Every week, comedians and lifelong friends Stephen Phillips Horst and Lily Murata talk about a different celebrity memoir, and in the process, they get personal about their own crazy lives. The episode you're about to hear is about Johnnie Cochran's journey to justice. Stephen and Lily chose it specially for you guys, so get ready for lots of jokes about the law. I really think you're going to love it. If you do, subscribe to Celebrity Book Club with Stephen and Lily wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for checking it out.
Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill.
It's Hollywood.
It's books.
It's gossip.
I'm shook.
It's memoirs.
It's martinis.
It's Studio 54.
It's Celebrity Book Club. Come read it while it's hot. Celebrity Book Club. Tell your secrets, we won't talk. Celebrity Book Club. No boys are allowed. Celebrity Book Club. Say it loud and proud. Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, best friend! Oh my God. Hey, Lily Murata.
Hey, Stephen Phillips Horst.
What another thrill to be with you here on this Monday afternoon, recording another episode of our podcast, Celebrity Book Club.
Celebrity Book Club, where, what is it we do? Oh yeah, we talk about celebrity memoirs.
Hell yes. Which means we also read celebrity memoirs.
Exactly. Oh, we read books.
I want to give a quick shout out to our listeners and also listeners of another podcast that might be known as 5-4.
They're basically our label mates. I've never had a label mate.
They're also produced by Prologue Projects, which is just a fucking sick-ass podcast production company based out of Brooklyn, but, you know, has a lot of international influences as well. But we just want to say hi to you guys. Thank you so much. We know that it's a classic one of those when Apple put that U2 album on everyone's phone kind of vibes. So sorry if you're triggered by that, but stick around. Stay along for the ride. We think you'll like it because this week's episode is going to be right up your legal alley.
Oh, yeah. You've just been picked for jury duty.
Yeah.
because
this voir dire is over, or it's actually just beginning.
Yeah. Report yourself to the Downtown Criminal Justice Court Center because...
Senator, I don't object.
Because today we're talking about the only lawyer I know of besides your mother.
My mother, not
your mother, not my mother.
Yeah,
No. Besides your mother and some other lawyers, we're talking about Johnnie Cochran Jr. Esquire.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has many honorary doctorates as well.
His book is called Journey to Justice. Sidebar, when I was a kid, I thought that all lawyers were women.
Fabulous, because your she-boss mother was...
My she-boss lawyer was mom, or she was...
she was...
My lawyer was randomly this mom when I was a kid.
Sorry, guys, we're having an absolute case of the Mondays today. And we've never talked about this on the pod, and producer Meg kind of really encouraged me to tell our listeners that I'm kind of out of it today because I'm on my...
Oh, yeah.
It's embarrassing, but...
Say it.
Period.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, I get
Thank
it.
you.
I know.
Women bleed, and we shouldn't be ashamed.
No.
Is it the classic day one?
It's very day one vibes, so it's very just like, oh, give me Haagen-Dazs, like cramps. I'm wearing sweatpants I didn't even bind today to pod.
So let me guess, the back of your car looks like OJ's Bronco? From the socks to the sweatshirt.
No, me, because I'm always like so forgetting I have my period every month. So I'm always like bleeding everywhere. And then my girlfriend would be like, okay, so the bathroom is a full murder scene. And then I'm being so LAPD and cleaning up the crime scene badly.
And being just like, or no, she's like so ferment and she's like planting a bloody tampon, but it's like unopened.
Oh, to blame me?
Yeah.
And then, the blood is everywhere. And I'm like, not mine. So the blood is the glove. Really trying to make this analogy happen.
Well, this is the classic Margaret Cho stand-up bit where she's like, if men had periods, like every bachelor's apartment would look like a crime scene. And it's like, I feel like actually if I did have my period that I would be pretty regimented about it.
Well, I think
maybe sometimes.
I think there was a change within you where I feel like when you lived like in your apartment before this, you were like much more like sloppy boots. And then when you got your nice apartment, you just like started becoming a little bit more of a clean freak.
Yeah.
And so I wonder.
When you have something to preserve.
Exactly, to care about. So I feel like you were like, ugh, whatever. Like, you know,
I could see myself kind of free bleeding like on vacation, but like at my apartment being pretty conscious about sheets and stuff.
Well, free bleeding is just when you don't put a tampon in. So I don't think on vacation you would just be like no tampons in your like sarongs in Europe. Just like
I don't know. I think I would be so sarong in Europe.
With massive blood stain, no tampon, just bleeding everywhere.
I mean, we're kind of rubbing up against like the idea here that I don't really know what
a period
and how much blood there is and when it happens.
No, and not to bring up middle school again or whatever, but I remember one of our first conversations was you were like really asking me like, so what's the deal with the period? And I guess
I should have taken notes or something.
I don't know. And clearly I'm not really the one to ask because I still like can't get really a hold of it.
Okay, well, I forgive you for whatever you're experiencing today because we all come here with our own personal experiences and
yes,
and very much like the legal system. Everyone comes from different backgrounds and should be treated fairly.
And in America, supposedly you're innocent
until proven guilty.
But in this Johnnie Cochran book, I think he really shows that ain't true.
No. Well, and he shows really the corruption.
Yeah, America, I don't know if you guys knew this, but America be pretty corrupt.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And the police, they're not always right.
They suck. Can I say that?
No, you can.
Just before we kind of get into this book, like, you know, I'm sure maybe the 5 to 4 listeners, they maybe do read a lot. Not saying that our club kids don't read a lot, but this was, it was a long book, yet it was also small print. As you said, John Grisham style.
Yeah. No, when I got this book in the mail, I was just like, am I at the supermarket where they have all the mystery novels? Because this is thick and it's dense and the like font is small and close together. The spacing is, you know what I mean?
Like, I feel like the Shania book was also 400 pages, but the density, I mean, bring your glasses to work day.
Yeah. And
all
he
lamps
leaves
on.
No detail unspared. I mean, he's a lawyer.
No, I love the detail in this book.
And that's really important. But, like, you know, there's a good, like, 130 pages on the OJ case alone. And, you know.
Right, of course, that's the star. But, you know, not even to jump ahead to the OJ stuff, but his detail is so amazing that, you know, I felt he's very our podcast and like our vibe. Well,
yeah, he's very 90s. And
I guess he's like in 90s.
And he loves a big glass of Cabernet and he owned a supper club, which...
Right. And he like talks about his renovation and just like his home gym and just like...
Oh, when he says that, like, he's like, yeah, and we redid our LA mansion in classic 90s modernist style with soaring open spaces and clean lines and a home gym. And I did see my trainer 4 days a week. And I was actually with my trainer when I got the call about OJ.
And he's like, and usually that was my kind of my spa, you know, where I didn't hear the phone calls when I was in my soaring, clear, gorgeous gym.
I mean, it does sound like such a dream house. Like, I feel like it has a lot of, well, we should maybe talk about this.
Yeah, we'll talk about this later. But so basically he's born, you know, little bio on him. He was
so classic human style. He was born. Just to really give you the lowdown on Johnnie Cochran.
I was gonna say he was born in the South, but yeah, no, I mean, born vibes.
Yeah, fully birthed in the 30s.
So
this was Jim Crow, Louisiana,
Shreveport.
We were talking South. Deep
and,
South.
You know, his father, like...
His father sold insurance.
Yeah, and that was like, which talks about insurance was like one of the main like middle class available job for like black men at the time. Like
either you'd be a pastor or I feel like could you go to the military? Or could you even go to the military at that point? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this would be before the GI Bill, though. So it was like before even like...
Pre-World War II.
Yeah, pre-World War II.
So he was too young for World War I.
Right. Weren't we all? And then...
do you wish you could have fought in... Okay, question just...
Wait, Dream War?
Dream War to fight in.
Oh, I mean, well, obviously, like, this is the Assassin's Creed talking, but ancient Greece, I mean, Sparta. They actually required you to have sex with your coworkers, the male soldiers.
So they had to fuck.
Because it bonded them.
Oh, is that true?
I mean, it was encouraged.
Okay, it was encouraged. It was like bond and...
Yeah, it was like, yes, men are men and men should be with other men.
So it was kind of the gulf of that day, you know. If you want to make a business deal, go play golf. And then it was...
And then at the clubhouse, we all know what's happening.
Go fuck.
Those golf shirts come off real easy.
That dry fit
That
Nike,
dry fit.
Nike polo.
It's not so dry anymore.
I feel like Johnnie Cochran, his style, which also we'll get into, gorgeous style. He was like, I had amazing style from like, he made his parents made, every Sunday, head to toe.
Yeah. I mean, they're in church for 3
Gorgeous.
hours and like everyone is in their church best and in suits. But he was just like, I was like finding the best ties I could and the best button downs. And he's like, so there's that picture when he's like in the school photo when he's 12 and he's already got suspenders on.
Oh, I know. I feel like we've talked about this. And I feel like 90s was like high time for suspenders also.
Oh, we talked about your desire
My
to wear
desire to wear suspenders. Okay, so later, just to jump, when he picks the jury for OJ, he was like, I know this is irrational, but he says, I will not pick a juror who wears string ties, which I assume means bolos.
Oh, like just assume they're going to be like Southern white,
Right,
like
that's like
racist, redneck. Yeah.
So
who's wearing bolo ties to their voir dire? Am I using the term voir dire right?
What's a voir dire?
It is a legal term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Stephanie Phillips Horst, Esquire.
And it happens when, in French, voir means to see and dire means to speak.
Voir dire.
Right. So it's kind of like you're seeing people speak. So I guess that's kind of all court is very that because there's a visual element to it.
Actually.
But it happens, I think, before the trial starts.
The O.J. Simpson trial was the first big trial that was allowed to be televised. So that is very voir dire.
Well, and yet, though, if he talks about the Deadweiler trial in the 60s was like that the like coroner's inquest was televised. I feel like there was televised stuff. And wasn't the whole like Black Panther trial like heavily covered by the media?
Well, it was covered, but I mean,
but like, was it like the actual proceedings every day?
This
were on
was,
TV?
yeah, the OJ trial was the first thing like you could watch whatever. It was the birth of 90s all day TV.
Right.
You could just
No,
watch
and it's
the
true.
full
And then
trial.
CNN was invented like around the time of the Gulf War, and that's like when society really started going downhill.
24-hour news cycle
became entertainment. Let's talk about it. Yeah, I mean, well, okay, we keep saying let's not talk about the OJ trial, but I think
But I guess let's just talk about the OJ trial.
So back to my childhood. I remember it so clearly the day that before the verdict came out, the headline of the Boston Globe was, and the verdict is ... And then we all found out. And I remember being at school and like my nanny like picking me up in the Ford Explorer and being like, not guilty. And then the next day, the headline on the Boston Globe was not guilty. It was a 2-day headline, which was like another, I think, real milestone in journalism.
Well, it's also of that time where it's like, when I think about like our childhood in the news, it was just Monica OJ.
It was Monica OJ.
And Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding. Those three things.
I remember distinctly, so I didn't like follow the trial so much because we were so young. In 1994, I would have been -3 years old.
Totally. -30 pounds. I do remember being in 3rd grade and I remember it being announced and I feel like there was a big reaction from all the 9-year-olds, but I truly cannot remember if everyone was like, pro or...
I remember even at that age knowing to myself, I was just like, I thought he did it and I wanted him to get acquitted because I didn't want people to get in trouble for things. And I like deeply didn't want people to get in trouble. And I was just like, I know that he did it, but I just feel like, okay, he already did it. And we've had this whole trial. Like, I think he should just get let off because jail is bad and like you shouldn't send people there. No. And I also just like personally didn't like getting in trouble and I didn't think anyone should get in trouble.
Right,
and
so you're like, I'm not trying to go to jail, so OJ should.
Yeah, and you know, it's like that guilt.
Hell yes.
And yes, and I had probably a lot of internalized shame as like a gay child. And so like, you're just kind of looking at anyone who has had the finger pointed at them by society and feeling this sympathy for them and feeling, that you relate to that. And again, I was also just like always worried about getting in trouble for stuff. So it was just like, I feel like him not getting in trouble is good. What's good for the gander is good for the goose sort of thing.
But that also makes sense of like watching this trial for so long. You're kind of like, okay, we did this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. No, it's just like, with the whole, it's like Trump and the whole impeachment. I'm just like, are we still doing this?
Let's move on to another
trial. Can we
trial.
move on? Let's get another, it's just like, we already got the new president. Like, let's wrap this up.
It's really insane that it's kind of like our childhood was the OJ trial. And then, and then the rest of our lives, we've just been watching the Kardashians. It's just one long story.
It's one long storyline. Well, okay. So, did you watch the American Horror Story?
Yeah, that's where I was like kind of wrapping up on the thread. So watch the American Horror Story,
which was
they have
phenomenal.
so good.
I will say, so good.
And also in this book, so Johnnie Cochran, I remembered how bad after watching that I felt for Marsha
Cross.
Yeah, and then he talks about it. He's like,
he was like kind of saying that I mean, also this is his memoir, so he's going to make himself look good. But,
obviously,
he was making it sound like they were like good friends. He also revealed that basically she was fucking her person,
which is revealed in.
I feel like they almost kiss on the show, but then
and she's like, no.
I'm so busy and I have so many binders and like it's too late.
And I'm ruffled in the perm that she gets.
And she was just like lambasted for her perm.
So just to give a little background. So Johnnie Cochran marries very young and he's like not in love, but he's like, so I did the right thing. I mean, he's very like, I am a man of honor and I did the right thing.
Where he said he didn't beat his wife was a little like, no one asked.
He's like, and I would never strike my wife. And you're like, okay.
Literally didn't say you did. And then you had 3 times. You're like, and again, I didn't strike her.
Well,
that was a little sus.
He's like, she wanted $75 a week for clothes.
For her clothing budget?
Yeah, and I was like, fabulous. And he's like, and I only made $150 a week.
He made $152. No, she wanted $75 a month, and he made $152 a week.
Carry the 2.
Carry the 2. So he's making $600 a month, so $75.
That's a lot.
I mean, I don't know. That's maybe 12% of his overall budget goes to clothing, which as it should.
Yeah, and his dad agreed with the wife. He was like, well, you got to keep her dressed. It's a little thing she wants.
That's because it's meaningful to her. You know, it wasn't the fact that like, is clothing frivolous? It's like, well, she could have said, you taking on all these cases is frivolous.
Right. Well, and obviously he was probably going out and getting gorgeous ties. Anyway, they get divorced and then she like during the OJ trial, like talks to the tabloids and like goes on shows to talk about Johnnie Cochran, as does like his other ex.
Okay, wait. So the other ex was that woke secretary, Patty,
yeah,
who stopped him in the hall and was just like, they're all like racist at this like building where you're trying to get an office, but like I think that it's bad and like just know that I support you.
Right, which was fabulous.
And then like months later, he was like, and then Patty and I were bonding over our struggling marriages. And the relationship did go ahead and become more than cordial.
I mean, I love how formal he talks about sex. And he's like, and we got to know each other. And then we got to know each other even more. And then after we really got to know each other, she did bear my child.
He is a Christian man.
Very Christian. He loves his mother.
Yeah.
It does. Like his mother was like always getting sick and he was always like making banners for her. Like when she came home and like he went to his mother's like crypt grave to ask her if he should take on OJ.
And she said yes?
And she said yes.
Yeah. I mean, he really kind of hems and haws about that for a whole week. And then finally decides to take it on. Which is kind of insane because they're just like, you're like a hotshot lawyer. You like take on every case, like especially where you think that justice has not been done or the police are wrong or a black man has been like,
Well, he said at some point
unduly accused. And this would make you so famous. So why wouldn't you do this? You obviously love the attention.
I think he was playing up the drama.
Yeah, for the book. Okay.
Yeah.
I do feel like there was a lot of times when he reminded me of another Cochran-like sounding person, Barbara Cochran. Because he is very just like, you need your employees to like you, go to the city, like appearances matter, like get the right suit, have the office Christmas party, like celebrate your secretaries.
No, he's always also like, there's so many photos in this small Grisham large book that are like
it's him. Grisham size, but packs a lot of punch.
So where he's like always like having Christmas parties for like all of his like jurors, which I'm like, is that legal? Legal heads right into us. I was like,
legal eagles, please sound off in the comments because this actually was so confusing to me. After he like wins a trial and the defense gets off, he invites the entire jury over to like a fabulous cocktail party at his mansion.
Right, and he's like, and we had crab and shrimp and Cabernet Franc, and you're like, I thought you're like not allowed to speak to the jurors.
Isn't that
ever.
Like wildly unethical?
Maybe after the case you're allowed to talk to them, but it definitely seems like he becomes like lifelong friends with them, and he's like invites them to Christmas parties every year.
It's like literally like day of, like not guilty verdict comes through, and then they roll through, and it's just like I mean,
Full
because then you're
buffet.
creating precedents. Like, hello, then if the jurors know that, oh, well, if we do not guilty, we're all going to party at Cochran's
At
later.
Cochran's, hell yeah. Oh,
Then, yeah, I'm doing not guilty. I mean, as I said, I'm going to do not guilty anyway.
yeah, no. Wait, you would do not guilty? Oh, for anyone? Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
much. I'm pretty like not guilty boots. I just feel like, and as someone who has been to jail 4 times, I will say, I don't like it in there. And I don't think people should have to go.
Well, okay, I've always felt so also bad, just like for anyone that's murdered, because it's kind of like what happened to you.
Sorry, did you
That
say
made
you
feel bad for murderers, because it's like
for murderers, right.
murderers, because it's like, well, what happened to you that kind of brought you
Absolutely,
to the murder
classic
place.
empathy vibes. Yes.
No, I'm empathetic.
No, I totally agree, and I think that like there could be some really interesting articles written like with that perspective. I'd love to see that talked about more often, because I don't think anyone has.
No one has. Absolutely not. And no one's also talked about how jail is kind of a bad place. Is also, I would, so if anyone is getting inspo right now from what we're saying,
Yeah,
like,
definitely feel free
get a
to
think piece
I don't know, get
going.
a think piece going. Do some research. Let us know. Criminal justice system, is it all it's cracked up to be? That's what we're talking about.
No, I know.
Today.
I'm like, I'm getting a sense in this book that there should be some changes.
No, absolutely getting the sense of changes. Well, you know, and also what's so damning about this book is he's telling stories about the 60s, about police planting evidence, about police murdering black men in their cars.
With their pregnant wives.
With their pregnant wives right next to them.
On
and you're
the
just like,
street.
these are all stories that happen today, in 2020, in 2021, in fact.
No, but the story he tells about, I feel like even in just like this insane Black Panther case where it was just like so
where he
corrupt.
did get up all these Black Panthers, and there was an informant because like there was this whole siege of the Black Panther headquarters by police. Miraculously, no one was killed during that, which was interesting.
Big old history lesson in this book.
Well, that whole section really reminded me of the movie Sebring, the Amazon original film that I watched recently, starring what's her name, lesbian?
Kate McKinnon?
No,
Jane Lynch.
the hot one.
Kristen Stewart.
Yes. And where she plays like Jean Sebring, the French actress who became involved in the Black Panthers movement.
Oh, why haven't I seen this?
I told you to watch this.
Okay, well, I'll watch it tonight.
Anyway, it's very sexy, and like she is living in all of these like really sexy like 60s mid-century like LA mansions, but like while she's just like fucking this guy in the Black Panthers and becoming this like
radical,
but then also being like so monitored by the FBI and Hoover, and he talks about.
Well, can we talk about how he like drags Hoover for being? He was like,
he was like,
Hoover's as racist as like he was gay, secretly gay.
Yeah, he was as closeted about his sexuality as what about his racism, I think was the line, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's my question. So you always see that phrase.
Oh, COINTELPRO?
So yeah, how do you say it? Because every time I see it, because people on Twitter are always like saying COINTELPRO, and I'm like, do you say COINTELPRO?
Or do you say CONTELPRO? That feels the CONTELPRO. I was saying, in my mind, I was saying COINTELPRO.
I've been saying COINTELPRO as well, but I feel like it comes from counterintelligence program, so you would think it'd be like COINTELPRO.
COINTELPRO. That might make more sense. So COINTELPRO was the program that the FBI set up that basically
was spying on so-called domestic terrorists, aka the Black Panthers at the time, because they wanted to basically destroy them and dismantle them from the inside. And they have all these informants and agents provocateurs.
And obviously it's so fucked up because they were, offering so much money. So it's like, if you're like, oh, like, well, like then I won't get arrested if I like inform.
No, I mean, the way this case, well, then the Geronimo Platt case, as it turns out, like everyone's an informant for like someone else. Like everyone is lying.
Yeah, there was no one who wasn't an informant.
Everyone is setting up everyone else. It was just like,
so it's kind of like when I was reading that, I was like, so what's the point here? And that's always that thing where it's like the FBI hates the cops, and the FBI and CIA hate each other.
Well, and then there was also the two factions within the Black Panthers that were fighting each other.
Right, because then like they each had a leader, and then they each have their own informants, and then no one knows, and everyone's informing on each other.
And you know who's sitting at their
collecting the money?
Collecting all the money is, his Uncle Sam is the whole, the whole system. This whole criminal justice system.
Oh, no, and it's a big old cycle.
Although I guess Johnnie Cochran's also collecting money.
No, he's collecting it. That's the thing.
He has always been like, and I did own a supper club, and I owned a sports team, and I started an airport, and
it's so funny. It's like, he's getting more successful and more successful. And he's like, and then I opened up my bigger firm. And then I did start to go into entertainment law. And I took on Aretha Franklin and the Supremes and Michael Jackson as clients. And then he'll be like, and I won a case. And like someone did advise me to put it back into the community because I was making money from the community because it was basically just like he was like the high profile black lawyer. And they're like, maybe like give
people
back
are
to
so
the
like
community.
scrounging up like every dollar they can
not
and coming in
open
with
up,
this bag of like a
an
pillowcase
eighth
full of money being like,
supper
please, Johnnie Cochran, represent me. Because you will get me off.
Celebrity Book Club.
Okay, so he was representing Michael Jackson.
Yes.
So it's kind of ironic. I just feel like there is this thing where it's like,
that's
so yes,
the
like
thing
Johnnie
about him.
Cochran is absolutely like a titan of law, but it's also like you could see him as he becomes more successful. He's more just like, I'm going to represent celebrities.
Yes.
And it's just like you go from basically like, you know, really believing on this political stage, like representing like Black Panthers, like people you think that are just like really, really oppressed by the system, to representing just like O.J. Simpson and Michael Jackson in a child molestation case.
Yeah, and then he also in his kind of week long where he's going to his mother's crypt and like can't figure out if he should like take the OJ case. He's like, my beautiful wife, Dr. Dale, and I went to the Hollywood Bowl with my very, very good friend, Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
And Bill just has a way of joking his way through difficult things to talk about.
Interesting.
And you're like, I don't know. Is this like right switch of going from like the Michael Jackson case?
Bill's got like a roofied teenager on his arm who's like fully passed out. Johnnie Cochran's just like, he just has this funny way about him. He's just kind of a silly
he's just
guy.
This hilarious, silly guy. So if I may read this passage where he's going to Michael Jackson's house.
Oh.
Well, no, first, okay.
He goes to Neverland?
Yeah.
I forgot about this part.
A couple of days later, Carl and I drove to Santa Monica Airport, where Michael's private helicopter was waiting to fly us to his famous Neverland retreat in Santa Barbara County, north of Los Angeles. It is, as the name suggests, a consciously magical place with its vast mansion, private zoo, and dazzling amusement park. There is music everywhere, and the minute I stepped out of the helicopter, I understood that this whole enchanted environment had been decided to reinforce and maintain the childlike sense of wonder so crucial to Michael's art. I remember turning to Carl and saying, we can't let this young man be taken down. He told us he's innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says that a lot about OJ too. It's always
He's
just like he said he was innocent. It's like, that's what people do.
Oh, I guess
They really do say that they're innocent.
I guess as a defense lawyer, when someone tells you they're innocent, you just have to go, okay.
Yeah. You're always just like, got it.
Well, okay, also you watch a lot of All Rise. I feel like a lot of defense lawyers, and I may be absolutely wrong here, legal eagles tell me, I feel like a lot of defense lawyers don't straight up ask their clients if they're innocent or guilty.
Yeah, I mean, okay, on All Rise again, which is a documentary that I
a CBS procedural documentary.
The public defender who like does a lot of the cases.
Yeah.
She's always just being just like, I don't want to know. Like, don't tell me that. She's always telling them like, stop telling them about a gun or like something that they had or like something. She's always trying to like prevent them from admitting something that like, she can't hear because she's just trying to do their best to help them and like.
Right. She's like, let me just do the evidence and we're just going to go with the not guilty.
Yeah, and she's always trying to find some other like procedural reason why like the evidence should be thrown out or, I mean, speaking of procedural reasons why the evidence should be thrown out, I was actually quite surprised that Shapiro, who is played by John Travolta in the show. Who, speaking of more closeted than they are
more
racist
closeted
or
men.
whatever.
Okay, Bob Shapiro, another note I wrote down, I was like, God, lawyers are absolutely insane. He like, Johnnie Cochran is lead counsel, but before it was Bob Shapiro. And Bob Shapiro like comes back to their offices and lies. And he's just like, well, OJ told me himself he wants me to be head counsel. And Johnny's like, no.
Johnny's like, no, I know. He's been begging me. He's been calling me for weeks. Like,
I had to go to my wife's
voicemails. Like being like, I'm desperate for you to represent me. Like, Shapiro is not a trial lawyer. Shapiro does nothing. I mean, he basically says that Shapiro is horrible, but he assembled the dream team, and so he deserves credit for that. But yeah, and then in the trial, it's like Marcia is like him. They're joking about how Shapiro's an empty suit, and she's like thinking it's horrible. So I'm like, okay, so you're saying you're friends with Marcia?
No, I think he had a lot of sympathy for Marcia because, I mean, he says also like we only had like a little bit of time in the beginning when we were like joking, and there was like some small photo of them like smiling, and obviously things got like absolutely tense afterwards. But he's like, I felt bad for her because like all my ex-wives like talk shit about me in the tabloids, and this case was insane, but like I had my wife, Dr. Dale, who kept our beautiful modern home immaculate for me to come home to. And he was like, and Marcia was like the most like insanely stressed out single mom whose ex-husband tried to get custody of her kids, and like he submitted like nude photos of her to the Inquirer.
This all happened on the show. I mean, on that other documentary, the Brian Murphy show that we watched. But like, it is kind of a joke, and he makes it seem like that was very accurate because like he just is in his like expensive suits and like going to his huge, big, gorgeous, modernist house every day, and she's coming in like so kerfluffled and like spilling so much coffee on her binder. And just like, and they're like such a mess.
Right. And so like, oh, I need to bring my kids to school. And he's just like there, like looking fab.
What I was quite surprised by, this was a bit of a kind of a legal shock to me, was that Shapiro thought that they were going to be able to get the glove dismissed. And they were going to be able to get the glove suppressed in prelim. And that therefore the whole trial would get dismissed at prelim. They would just be like, okay, fine. We don't have the biggest piece of evidence. Wait, have you seen the trial?
I've seen it. I actually recently, watched the footage of the glove, and it really. Okay, here's my thing about the glove.
I think he's so clearly acting.
Yeah, it is the most like fully like theater camp.
It's like
he's like
UCB boobs.
Full UCB glove vibes. Like he's like pulling it on like so hard and being like, oh no, there's no way. Also, here's my thing about the glove, and again, like I also don't.
Are you talking about the plastic gloves they have to wear underneath?
Yeah, it's like you're already wearing another glove. The plastic gloves. Also, a lot of the times, like I don't know, you buy ill-fitting gloves. I don't know, even if you're a celeb.
Yeah.
I guess I just think like hats and gloves, like it's kind of one size fits all.
Yeah. Like fits like a glove. Like that phrase is actually kind of off. Like, and let's talk to the English language.
It would actually make sense that maybe he would use his pair of ill-fitting gloves to murder.
I mean, again, it's like all of the discrepancies and like, you know, the idea that the police would have planted evidence is completely reasonable and just like a 100%. And like all of these different reasons, like why wasn't there more blood in the car in different places? If there are so many things that suggest that there could have been plantings. But at the end of the day, you're just like, who the fuck else did it?
Well, I Googled today because that was my thing. I was like, okay, so the first search also was such
his wife in the 80s or whatever.
Well, and they have they have Nicole's sister, like, you know, saying like he beat her. Like they have phone calls.
Men are always killing their ex-wives.
Duh, right. So it's like, this is the new boyfriend. And then I Googled like, who are the other like Reddit suspects? And of course, Quora.com came up. By the way, somehow, of course, my spam ass, I get emails from Quora every day.
You are very Quora-pilled.
And I think I've like clicked on them so many times that they now go to primary. They like don't go to promotions. But the headlines are always so crazy, so I keep on clicking on them. It's always like, my little brother murdered someone. Should I still give him a birthday party? So I'm Quora-pilled. But then there was some of the other things on Quora they were saying was that like, and who knows if obviously any of this is true, was another waiter at the restaurant Mezzaluna where Ron worked was also murdered around that time. And was it kind of a food and bev murder, actually?
Is that true?
I have no idea. Okay. But that was on Quora.com.
Well, I'm obsessed with that theory.
No, and then I was like,
so there was this bigger food and bev ring.
Yeah.
I also feel like, hasn't Kris Jenner said that like she thinks that she did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like Kim is like, Mom, I don't want to talk about it. Like, because they are so also like going to their dad's like crypt.
Yeah, they're so asking a crypt for
they're
permission.
So
to like,
me, if you know what I mean.
Right. Oh yeah, I do know. As one reviewer said, you're obsessed with your dad's death. Get over it. He's in the ground, bitch.
Move on. Journey to justice.
So yeah, to me in the column that he did it,
Right.
it's Kris Jenner thinks it. A. B, like the sort of whatever, the evidence that like the trail of blood from like Delway
Bronco.
Hive to Rockingham, or they always call the houses like by the street names, which
Yeah.
is like so Kristen Cavallari calling her other house like
the Rockingham.
Bradford or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that is in the column of he did it to me. And then also the fact that like he is like still sketchy, and he also wrote that book called If I Did It.
If I Did It, which
and it's
is
kind of just like, so you're saying you did it. To me, but what I'm not putting in that category is the fact that he did run and the whole Bronco chase. Because
Yes.
Because to me, I'm like, though that I get, because hello, the police are so racist and just like, you don't know what to do. And like, maybe you got scared. And like that to me, I'm like, I think at the time people like, that really sealed the deal where they're like, oh, he must
They're
have
like,
did
oh,
it.
if you're running, you're
Why
not. But
would
it's
you
like,
run?
police are evil.
Yeah, police are evil.
And you have no idea. They could have shot you on the spot.
Right.
Who knows? They could have planted more shit in your car.
Right, and you thought you
smeared
would
it with
never have a
more
fair
of my
trial.
period blood.
Exactly.
And it's also his like crime that he went away for 33 years. I always find completely insane. It was like a memorabilia heist. I could really see myself if I was to go away to the big house. It would be for what OJ went away for. He was taking back his own sports
stealing
memorabilia.
like a bobblehead from like a Vegas
Yeah, it was
mall.
like Vegas, so he was like taking back like bobbleheads and trophies and like
No,
trading
you wouldn't
cards.
go to jail for a doll heist.
Oh my God, wait. Doll stuff. So to our listeners, to all the listeners, I'm addicted to buying dolls, and I've stopped myself because it's weird. And I have
The way you said it's weird with just like so little conviction, like you were actually just like at that, like like you're at your parole hearing, like no, and I've stopped it, and it's weird. I promise, Your Honor, I don't like dolls anymore. I'm not salivating over the prospect of a vintage Dr. Evil doll still in its original case.
They pull up, they take my laptop, they take my eBay searches. I'm like furiously trying to clear them. And like vintage Johnny Cash doll that sings.
It's like the entire cast of All in the Family.
Yeah.
Like,
So I just want to talk quickly how Annie Leibovitz did a photo shoot of the entire Dream Team before the OJ trial began. And Johnnie Cochran was like so proud. He was like, and I said I had no time for the Annie Leibovitz photo shoot, even though she is absolutely amazing artist. And then he calls OJ and he's like, yeah, the rest of them, they all went to the Leibovitz photo shoot, but I actually have work to do in your case. And OJ is like, hell yes. Like, I didn't want you to go to the photo shoot.
that's so Bethany of him.
I know. And like, this is actually a fucking business.
This is a business and my
Yeah.
time is valuable. Wow. Go off.
Yeah, I know. I want to see those Leibovitz photos.
I mean, I think it's like, it's another example of him kind of trying to play both ways, where he kind of like, he is bemoaning like the turn from information into entertainment and like the Rise 24 News and like the celebrification of like every job and like every industry, and just like, and the sort of like the besmirching of like the legal names. But it's just like,
Right.
he's such a huge part of
You're
that.
the biggest celebrity lawyer.
Yeah, you're the biggest celebrity lawyer, and you're just like, you absolutely like use entertainment like, you know, for good, but also for bad. And it's a double-edged sword. And you absolutely love to just like reap the benefits of fame and fortune.
And just to kind of add on also of him being like, because he's like, my children are my dream and I'm the best father in the entire world. And it's like, they probably see him like hardly ever, but then he's being like very just like divorce court proceedings where he's like, and then my ex-wife just like, she started talking about me on Meet the Press, and my son was in finals at that time, and it made him so stressed out. He had to spend the night at my house, and he's very just like, I win. And that's kind of like, do we need to be so petty here?
I mean, divorce is petty.
Yeah, it's petty boots. And he's like, and I have always like given my children and my ex-wife so much money. And I mean, look, it is shady that his ex-wives like went on to talk about it, but it's like he was on TV every day. They probably wanted a piece of the pie
I know.
too.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, pot kettle.
Right.
And like, and he talks about how he had to like, in one of the like opening stages of the OJ trial, he was also like going to like family court across the street for like, his wife was like fighting him on something, and he had to like run across, and then he was late getting back, and then he was like in contempt for like being late because he was like doing the family court. report, and he was just being like, oh, like crazy day in my crazy life with my crazy
Right,
ex-wife,
yeah.
and like again being so Bethany, and just like I have so much on my plate, and like no one realizes how insane it is to be a high-powered superstar celebrity lawyer.
Segments. How do you plead?
Segments, approach the bench. Your Honor, I segment. Okay, what does she eat?
How does she live?
What does
Has
she
she
wear?
wear?
So, what does he eat?
What does he eat?
Let's pull up the passage where
Okay.
he talks about the supper club that he owns. I mean, he has decadent tastes.
But I think he has high cholesterol
I mean,
and he's changed
so
his
90s,
ways.
and it's just like the wife is probably like Dale was probably just being like, no, stop salting that meat, and like making him have a Caesar salad, but the Caesar salad is like so covered in dressing.
So that's the thing, right? He's, he grew up on your classic soul food and he's just like, obviously like loves, that, but it's
Meat,
the 90s.
potatoes, dairy.
Right, chicken,
Yeah.
The works. Talk about cage-free. They were ringing the chicken right before dinner.
Right.
So
No, it was super organic.
that's the thing.
It's not like this is one thing. It's always just like there's 5 different dishes.
Right. It's like there's chicken, like greens, peas.
The coconut pineapple cake. There's
Right.
like
There's
that-
always cake before,
Right.
lemonade. But his family, they were so devout, so they were not drinking.
But he drinks.
He drinks, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in a very measured way. I'm sure let me read the passage of his supper club and then we'll talk about his wine cellar. At the time, another lawyer, Frank A. Evans Jr., and I owned a supper club in South Los Angeles called, quote unquote, There.
Wait, that's the most incredible
Which is
name. It's
so
iconic.
fabulous.
Yeah.
There.
There.
Meet you there?
Meet you at there.
Meet you at there. Let's go
Let's go to there.
there.
That's so fun.
I bet it's not open anymore. Can we restore there?
Yes.
I would love that. GoFundMe.
The There Restoration Project.
With its mahogany paneled walls, warm lighting, top light chef, and congenial bar. Is that how you say it? Congenial bar?
Oh, yeah.
The club soon became a popular hangout for local sports celebrities. Muhammad Ali was a frequent visitor. The opportunity to rub elbows with sports stars, along with courteous professional service, which I'd learned to recognize in my catering days, quickly made there a favorite spot among the city's growing black middle class. It would be years before diet and discipline became synonymous in the American mind, and our kitchen was very much a creature of its time. A typical Sunday brunch at there, for example, would, in the words of our menu, start with King Crab Cocktail Supreme, move on to a tureen of soup du jour, followed by prime rib of beef au jus, roasted according to an old English recipe in our specially designed ovens. Fabulous, by the way, that they have special ovens. It's very au jus stove.
Yeah.
And finish, sorry, I'm getting so hungry, with cheesecake in a hot Sherry's Jubilee sauce. To accompany our meal, we suggest a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. And that he's quoting his full menu here. And then he goes, my cholesterol level notwithstanding, that still sounds pretty good. So he's saying that's
He's saying that. I think he's basically admitting, though, that means that his wife is now being making him have a wedge salad instead.
Yeah.
But the wedge is still just bacon.
Yeah, it's Cobb boots.
It's Cobb.
I don't think it's very he's working so much. I don't think he's eating during the day. I think his secretary's bringing him cappuccino. He also roasts some other lawyers for getting cappuccinos.
Yeah, I think he likes faggot food. But you know what I bet he does like, I will say, and I know this from, when I used to work in politics, working downtown, you're near the courthouses. And
that court food.
that kind of court vibe, I feel like he's very pea soup.
Oh, didn't see that coming.
I think
that makes a lot of sense.
A lot more high-powered lawyers than you think have soup because it's just in a small cup and you can kind of come back to it, but you can eat it quickly. It's not actually that messy. It's surprisingly not that messy, even though it has liquid, because it's very contained.
No, I see he's buzzing. He's like, Jan, can you get me my soup? And it's a bottled water and he's getting it on his table. It's an Evian, maybe half a BLT and a pea soup. You don't even think there's a BLT there.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm saying,
soup
let me
vibes.
stop you right there.
So, that makes sense, Rick. It's and he's working out 4 times a week in his beautiful home
Because what you
gym.
don't want, and here's why the sandwich is a no-go, you bite in and that mustard, that sauce squirts on your soup.
Oh, also, no, it's the huge tie. That's so 90s. Mustard on the big
Mustard
white
on the big white tie.
And then you're dabbing it with your, I don't
Nothing
know, I'm
looks worse.
pounding my chest right now. In,
Gorilla boots.
creating a dab. Okay, I also feel like it's very lawyer to be, he comes home and they're like, you got to eat. And he's like, I'm going to my study.
Yeah. He's too exhausted by the events of the day to even eat. Okay, what does he wear? Well, as we were talking about, he is a dapper gentleman.
Absolutely.
He likes a double-breasted suit. He likes...
gorgeous suspenders. I think a bold tie.
A wide tie and a bold collar.
And I feel like it's, it's a very 90s. It's a pleated pant, double-breasted suit.
So even on the cover of this book, he's got a little cross pin on his lapel. Very Christian. Also, pocket squares, as every man should have.
Absolutely. Gorgeous. And I think, it is like a wide tie, but it's not like so insane pattern because I feel like he is like, well, we are in a courtroom and like, it's a slight pattern. It's not the craziest.
No, it's not such a dad tie that's like so kooky and like golf clubs and it's like not such like a Christmas tree or whatever.
Turkeys.
Yeah, like silly turkeys.
And Santas. And then I feel like
what's his casual wear? Just like golf
That's
shirt?
what I was saying. I think it's like golf. It's dry fit polo, tucked in, or it's like so nice.
We should say he is dead. So
yes, R.I.P.
Yeah. I don't know if the dry fit technology
maybe the dry fit. I think it's like
invented back then.
Okay, so it's cotton or it's like thick plain
like
t-shirt.
It was an old school like golf polo from like the Bahama Breeze.
Yeah, it's from like the Ritz-Carlton
Bahamas
Barbados
hotel.
Tucked into sweatpants, like very crisp
very
90s.
Tucked into sweatpants.
High socks, and then he's like doing like a 90s exercise.
Okay, like the part about Ojo where he was like, hello, like they were dress socks. He wouldn't have been wearing dress socks with joggers.
Right, he's so fabulous. And he also won't, along with the bolo ties, he won't admit a juror who wears white socks.
Okay, wait, what?
He says no white socks and no string ties.
Okay, well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because everyone wears white socks.
Well, I guess he's thinking like, if you go to a courthouse, you dress up. Like, don't show up in your gym socks.
Again, this is so Bethany. I'm watching her new show on HBO Max, which is obviously insane. And
which I need to watch.
She's like freaked because this one, like the like social media influencer girl who's like competing for this new job with Bethany. She's like, who shows up to a job interview in a crop top? I can't believe she was in a crop top. And like the girl's wearing the most like insane leather long sleeve bustier. Like it's technically a crop top and like wearing so much makeup and jewelry and 18 hats and like...
No, and that's why he's so Cochran. Like, I do think if he was alive today, again, rest in peace, Johnnie Cochran Jr., Esquire, I could see, like, him and Bethany having a show.
Him, Bethany, and Barbara just, like, on the tank? He would be so on the tank.
He would definitely be on the tank.
Yeah.
And just, like, I feel like Mark Cuban would actually be, like, kind of bowing to him.
Oh, yeah, and be like, you paved the way.
Right. Because also at the end of this book, like after he's just like, and the justice system is corrupt and everyone's racist, he's like, and also I became a sports agent.
Yeah.
And, never stop. That's the thing.
No, always expand.
I wanted to become, after I saw Jerry Maguire, I really wanted to become a sports agent. I was really inspired by that film.
Did you ever do anything to pursue that dream?
Well, I played sports.
So that's a no?
Yes, that's a no in your eyes. But I got to know, how the teams worked in and out. Okay,
fair. I mean, you were immersing yourself in the lingua franca of sporting. Yes. But you never said, hey, like, do you even go on your favorite website, Quora, and see what it takes to become a sports agent?
Well, because then I transitioned into the dream of hoteliers, which is still
the current dream.
Which is still the current dream that I haven't fulfilled.
Well, why don't you, have you looked that up on Quora?
Well, and I remember my parents were like, well, Cornell has a hotel school. And I was like, okay.
At what point did you realize you weren't going to go to Cornell? What point in your high school career were you like, huh?
This was, I think, once I even had hit 14, I kind of was like, Cornell's.
Yeah, I'm not getting the vibe.
No, I don't think Cornell's for me, and I don't think I'm for them.
No, I think
it was
it's
a
right.
mutual decision.
Honestly, it was mutual.
Yeah, totally. It was totally chill and mutual. Absolutely. Okay.
How does he live? We have discussed. I mean, he says it in great detail.
Gorgeous, modern, clean lines.
Clean lines. I picture the furniture very like custom curved, like massive
I was picturing,
couch.
right. I feel like there's kind of like, it's pink tones. I feel like it's very light. Like, I kind of feel like he is like this mama's boy. And it's like.
There's a femininity to it. Mm-hmm. There are pinks and lavender.
There's
for
shams.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's a lot of carpet.
Shams on the beds, you mean?
Yeah, shams on the bed.
Yeah.
But I think in his entertaining area, like.
Big ass dark hutch.
No, I think it's a little more 90s.
It's so 90s
it's like
white built in. It's all like
white built in, or like this like glass black huge
I know what you're talking about. Yes, and they have that it's very satisfying to press them open and close, that black glass.
Yes. He probably has like a screening room, but I feel like he's the type of person that while he does love like vacationing, like I don't think he really can relax and watch a movie. Like he watches football while he's working, you know?
Totally agree. He seems like he's very like Adderall boots, but like without Adderall.
Like his time to relax is with the trainer.
Can I also say something that might shock you?
Sure.
Fake plants.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time to water.
No, I think he's got big fake plants like throughout the house. And some of them are in kind of like.
Well, that's also very 90s. Like no one was really like.
Plant care was not.
No,
what it is
he wasn't
today.
like a totally witchy femme, like getting succulents.
But there were people in the
My
90s who
succulent is my boyfriend.
can't keep a succulent alive past 1 month or a relationship. You might be me.
No,
but I
see,
do feel like there
there
were people in
were
the 90s
people.
who, I mean, you're right. Like, I'm pretty sure my parents had fake plants also in their house. And like, at just one point, I was like, oh, wait, this is fake. It was very like when you're 8 and you're like, okay, so Santa's not real and this plant is fake.
I remember we had this one planter, and I'm like, who was watering those hoes?
And then maybe it was fake.
I think they were real, and I think they died.
But I am saying I do think that like there were rich people who have like gardens for sure
Yes.
that are meticulously maintained and gardeners and all of that.
Well, isn't that more LA? And like before
And
the
maybe
whole
maybe
water
there was
crisis.
like a greenhouse. Oh yeah,
and they were just shooting those sprinklers left and right.
Yeah, and now it's like more woke to have like a mulched yard or whatever.
Or stone or
stone,
whatever,
landscaping,
right?
Japanese rock garden, etc.
Absolutely. I just think things were low maintenance because even like Dr. Dale, like she was holding it down at the Cochran fort.
Yeah, I mean, okay, on the show, she's just like in like a silk nightgown, like waiting, I feel. And like the whole show is just her being like rolling around like these like silk sheets in a silk nightgown, just being like, Johnnie, like you're late again.
Well, I feel like it's very like 90s sitcom when like the mom of the show is wearing just a floor length silk nightgown. And then the audience is like, ooh. And he's like, oh, Miss Cochran, it's good to see you.
And she's like, it would have been good to see you 2 hours ago.
Storms off. Your dinner's on the table. And again, it's like a cob.
Cobb stuff. Okay, I think.
Yeah. So who are you in the book?
Oh, who are you in the book?
Are you Lenny Bruce, who's disheveled and he talks out of line about just like something? Early in the book, he's like...
I'm famously feather-ruffling comedian Lenny Bruce.
Yeah. And he was like, I could smell the alcohol in his breath. He was unshaven. And his jokes went too far.
Yeah. I think I would offend Christian Johnnie Cochran.
And this is when he worked for the DA. It was like he hadn't gone to defense yet.
Yeah.
So he was...
He was probably his most sort of stiff and conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do also think that like people of like a Johnnie Cochran experience will like see me and be like, I feel like my parents' friends are always being like, hey, you want to stand a little closer to the razor next time, buddy? Like when you don't have the most like perfectly clean shaven face, they're just like anything other than that. It's just like, whoa, this is crazy.
Though Johnnie Cochran does love, he was like, and I do regret when I stopped talking to my friend Elaine Schulman in 4th grade because we heard her parents were communists, and I will regret that for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Anyway, but yeah, I think he's like a little
So
like...
what, you think you're Elaine Schulman, whose parents are communists?
No, I was just saying that like he is like sketched by Lenny
He is sketched.
Bruce.
He is sketched by people, and then like pretending that he is like not sketched by them later.
Right.
But
Am I one of his ex-wives who goes to the press?
You're just
During the
absolutely
trial.
just no shame.
No shame at all. Being like, well, fuck, I'm going on TV.
No, aren't you the guy, the like surfer guy who lives at OJ's house?
Oh yeah, he was just chilling there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I'm like, oh wait,
You're like,
fuck.
okay, randomly I'm a key witness on a murder. Yeah, Kato, that was his name.
Kato, yeah, very cool.
Fuck yeah, dude.
All right, awesome. Surfer stuff.
Okay, well, I give this book...
I mean, if you're a huge Johnnie Cochran head...
Which, there aren't enough of them anymore.
There aren't. And, I would say he also, in a legal way, he does spill tea. You know what I mean? In his way, he does.
He does, and he is giving you, the full play-by-play. And, he's not, he is saying that, Shapiro's an empty suit. He's, saying this about the other characters. It's kind of a tell-all, and maybe it's kind of impressive also that, this book came out, 96 or whatever. And,
right. He really...
He really was speaking, I wouldn't say speaking truth to power, but speaking truth.
Yes.
Because he is in power. And he's also kind of, he's just being and Judge Ito was a great guy. And just he's also just complimenting everyone that he works with.
Right. He's he had kind of a naughty sense of humor, too.
Oh, yeah, an impish sense of humor.
Yeah, and I was impish. And so that was actually a word I looked up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so if you want to work on your vocabulary, definitely read this book.
No, it's kind of a good history lesson. And if you want to learn about kind of more horrible things cops have done and just kind of through...
No, I mean, I was the part about the Black Panthers, I was really turning the page and that was quite thrilling. The thing about this book, though, is I feel if you're into this stuff, you probably already know all of this.
Right.
And you could some of those parts I'm not getting anything I wouldn't necessarily get from the Wikipedia or a documentary or whatever.
Yeah, I would a little more like a Johnnie Cochran doc.
Yeah.
But I
do feel there's a lot he's not saying when he's just being and I love my kid and I'm a great husband and I never hit my wife. Anyway.
As we were saying that. Right. I guess it's a good where he goes through also the cases fast and then I did when he was and there's this, fucked up case and you're learning about the FBI. So it kind of tips you off and you're well, let's get, deeper into it.
Yeah.
But the OJ stuff, it's kind of well, we do know about it.
We do really know. But imagine you are... a 1997 woman eating your Cobb salad and this book just came out. You'd be finally, I'm getting the other side of the dirt that I didn't get watching this televised trial.
No, I'm having a latte or I'm sipping on a Lipton Brisk with my salad. Yeah, I'd be really digging through it. But I guess it's the gossip is... a little old for us now. But I also do like the way he is kind of so fab and I wish there was more of that when he just is and just right before I talk about this case, let's talk about my home gym. So,
yeah. I guess I'm giving it 2.5 out of 5 John Grishams just because, this is a thick, long book, and I can't really imagine actually reading it, if I wasn't doing this podcast about it.
I agree with you. Or also, I wouldn't be oh my God, you're going to die at this part when, he talks about, Bob Shapiro telling him that he should do less speeches at libraries.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, I don't know. Well,
so, yeah.
Fully getting spilled.
2.5 suspenders out of 5.
Wow, 5 suspenders. That's going to be tough because usually they come in a set of 2.
Well, okay, have fun with that math.
Maybe if you're a folk of one-armed experience and you only use one suspender. Next week, we're going north of the border for another duo.
Grab your hammers and grab your levelers.
Get ready for a renovator's dream when we tackle the one and only Canadian family duo, the Property Brothers. And their memoir, which I forgot the name of.
It's just Demo Day or Property Brothers. This is how we reno.
Yeah, down to the studs. I am
super
really excited.
Wicked excited.
As you know, I'm addicted to the Property Brothers mobile game.
You would rather kind of read the memoir of the creator of their mobile game.
It's called It Takes Two, which is also the name of a Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen film.
Right. One of their best flicks.
Oh, are you? I didn't know you were such a scholar.
Well, I guess it's the only movie that came out in theaters and the rest of them were straight to video.
We saw New York Written in theaters, I feel, in high school.
Oh, that's true. Call me in. Okay.
Erasing their teen years. Oh, sorry, did they get too slutty for you? Oh, you only like the Olsen when they were 4 years old and in little pink dresses?
Yeah.
Because that's how you like your kids, Michael Jackson. Why don't you go call Johnnie Cochran up and have him defend you?
I'm sorry. Michael Jackson is a wonderful musician, and those kids just want fame.
And they are leeching off of him in the hard work that he's done to bring America together.
Neverland is just an amazing zoo, okay?
No, it's literally a zoo where they actually are nice to the animals, which you rarely see anymore. And if you really cared about zoo life, then you would know that he runs an amazing zoo.
I stopped going to zoos years ago, unlike your ass.
That's true. Actually, I'm such a zoo ho. Okay.
Okay, so y'all, thanks for listening, and you know what to do.
Thank you so much for listening. Like, this was such a joy to go on this journey to justice with all of you.
Sorry. Order in the court.
Yeah.
The verdict is this podcast is over.
Clack, clack, recess.
All right, y'all, rate, subscribe, the works. Follow us at CBC The Pod.
And we will see you next
week. Ciao, ciao.
Court is adjourned. Best. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Celebrity Book Club is presented by Prologue Projects and HeadGum. The show is produced by known criminal Meg Bernane, with editorial support from Judge Leon Nayfok, the Honorable Andrew Parsons, and Madeline Kaplan Esquire. Our production manager is Senior Prosecutor Persia Verlin. Engineering by Ferris Monchi, who is sadly on a hunger strike in prison. Original theme song by Stephen Phillips Horst, who is handcuffed at this very moment. Artwork by Teddy Blanks at Chips NY, which is a small legal defense team that helps people who are in need. So please do donate to them. Follow us on Twitter at CBC The Pod. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review. And don't forget to tell your friends about us. Best.